Battle Through the Heavens God, The Flame Emperor Chapter 358, Big Dipper 7 Stars. Xiaoyan also vigilantly probed the surroundings, and then slowly walked towards the depths of the forbidden area. Every time Xiaoyan took a step, he could find that the space around him was opening up, and the smoke that blocked his vision was slowly dissipating. It's just that a faint wave of terror spreads from all directions. Cough, cough. The more he walked towards the core area, Xiaoyan also found that the mysterious force suppressed him very uncomfortable, as if his soul trembled and his footsteps slowed down. No, with such a terrifying pressure, there might be something mysterious inside. Xiaoyan also muttered, "Shabu shabu." Just when Xiaoyan hesitated, a golden streak of power instantly covered Xiaoyan's body. Xiaoyan took a closer look and saw that it was the power of his master, the Golden Dragon King. "Let's go, this is just a little trick," the Golden Dragon King said without caring at all. Xiaoyan heard that, since the matter was resolved, he had no choice but to shake his head and continue the walk. After all, the Golden Dragon King, his master would say so, and it is also at its height. After all, a figure at the peak of Douxian can't say these things, even if the Golden Dragon King, his master, is only a soul body. He is proud of himself. It was also not at all worried about what was going on in this forbidden area. Xiaoyan also didn't have time to think, so he hurriedly followed. It is strange to say that since the golden power of his master, the Golden Dragon King, poured into Xiaoyan's body, the peculiar suppression disappeared without a trace. The arrangement of these 7 rivers seems a bit complicated. Xiaoyan walked, his eyes never leaving the 7 river passages, and then he said slowly, "This. Could it be the arrangement of the Big Dipper?" The Golden Dragon King's doubtful voice also slowly echoed in Xiaoyan's ears. The Big Dipper. Xiaoyan pondered a little, because even if his master, the Golden Dragon King, didn't say anything, Xiaoyan could find that the 7 rivers were really messy at first, but as they went deeper and deeper into the core area, Xiaoyan could also find that the river channels flowing out of these 7 rivers seemed to slowly converge into a very strange thing. With his keen perception, Xiaoyan also felt a wave of destruction. "I never imagined that there would be an array of the Big Dipper here," the Golden Dragon King's voice also said slowly. "The Big Dipper." Xiaoyan also muttered to himself, and then walked slowly without waiting for his master, the Golden Dragon King, to speak. "Hey, there's no way." Xiaoyan only walked a few steps, but also found that there was no way ahead, and some things just appeared out of thin air. Xiaoyan was also extremely depressed. He just saw that there is a way here. Why is there no way to come here at this time? Oh, it's normal. Look at what's under your feet. The Golden Dragon King was not surprised at all, and then said slowly, "At my feet." Xiaoyan suddenly lowered his head upon hearing this. The next moment, Xiaoyan's dark brown pupils also showed a hint of doubt, because at this time, several extremely conspicuous columns appeared under Xiaoyan's feet. 1, 2, 7. What is this? Xiaoyan suddenly opened his eyes and said, "Don't worry, this is just a very simple means of defense." The Big Dipper, even in ancient times, appeared very limited in number. But every time the Big Dipper appears, it means that there are treasures here. But if you want to crack the Big Dipper and enter the place behind you, if there is no outstanding talent or someone who knows how to crack the Big Dipper, then there is only one consequence. The Big Dipper's repulsion was rashly triggered, thereby activating the guardian power of the Big Dipper. This Big Dipper contains the power of stars, so even a powerhouse at the level of an 8-star Dode can't afford to walk around in this Big Dipper. The Golden Dragon King also narrowed his eyes and slowly stared at the lined up in the 7 pillars of light on the earth. The 7 beams of light are arranged like the Big Dipper, but the strange thing is that there are no roads here, and there is a slightly weaker water flowing under the 7 beams of light. The water flowed out slowly, and it had the scale Xiaoyan had seen before. You must know that the passage that Xiaoyan saw at the entrance of the stone tablet in the forbidden area was the size of an arm, and under the 7 beams of light in front of him, the water flow was so weak that the naked eye could not detect it, but thanks to Xiaoyan's huge soul power, so it did not escape Xiaoyan's eyes. The river outside is the size of an arm. Compared with the one in front of it, it is obviously not on the same level. The river water outside is more like it has been diluted, and the river water that is only the size of a needle under the 7 beams of light in front of Xiaoyan also contains extremely pure power. Moreover, Xiaoyan knew that if he could be called a treasure by his master Dragon King, who had always been a master and a master, then the things in the core area of the forbidden area probably had enough weight. The arrangement of the Big Dipper, even my understanding of it is only limited to books. But the Golden Dragon King also squatted down and looked at the 7 beams of light before slowly opening his mouth. But it seems that this thing is not difficult. The Golden Dragon King also laughed. The next moment, the Golden Dragon King's voice had just finished speaking, and his palm was also facing one of the 7 beams of light. Boom boom boom. The Golden Dragon King picked up one of the 7 beams of light and moved it to another place. Boom boom boom. When the Golden Dragon King just moved the beam of light away, in front of Xiaoyan, an abyss-like passage was suddenly torn apart. Snort. Xiaoyan also swallowed a mouthful of saliva with difficulty, and then stared at his master, the Golden Dragon King, and there was clearly a very worried look in his eyes. Don't worry, the arrangement of the Big Dipper, although I have only seen it in books, but I also saw Tuashi cast it back then, so I have long kept this arrangement in my heart. The Golden Dragon King also laughed. Up to now, Xiaoyan can only pin his last hope on his master, the Golden Dragon King. He also muttered to himself, Master, I hope you don't trick me. Shabu shabu. Another beam of light moved, and the next moment, the space in front of him also heated up violently. Obviously this time it was a flame. Shabu shabu. Immediately after, a beam of light was moved, and in the next breath, the space was filled with a tempting smell. If you were unsteady, you might be lost by this smell. A few minutes have passed, and the Golden Dragon King also seems to have finished ranking the 9th position of the Big Dipper. The next moment, the Golden Dragon King also slowly pumped up the golden vindictive energy all over his body, and then shouted loudly, If you don't open it at this time, when will you wait? Chapter 359, The Heart of the Forbidden Island. With the cold snort of his master, the Golden Dragon King, the 7 beams of light on the ground also emitted extremely dazzling rays of light. The dazzling light continued to rise, and the next moment it covered the place where Xiaoyan and the others were, and then the 7 beams of light slowly moved. The next moment, it also spun abruptly, and then slowly came to a colorless and transparent wall in front of the Golden Dragon King, violently strung in. Originally, Xiaoyan didn't notice that there was only a colorless and transparent thing behind his master, the Golden Dragon King. Only now did he know that it was a colorless wall. Bang bang bang. With the injection of 7 beams of light into the colorless and transparent wall, the colorless and transparent wall blocking the road seemed to have the sound of opening the door, and then slowly opened. Shabu. The 7 beams of light suddenly turned into meteors, and then disappeared without a trace, but Xiaoyan didn't bother to check where the 7 beams were, because with the opening of the colorless and transparent wall, some things also surfaced. Bang bang bang. Under the injection of 7 beams of light, the colorless and transparent wall slowly spread out toward the 2 sides, revealing its original appearance. That's the next moment, Xiaoyan also widened his eyes fiercely, staring at the scenery behind the colorless and transparent wall. Through the colorless and transparent wall, what catches the eye is the extremely flat land. The land area is about several hundred meters. Some quite delicate granites on the ground also pave the way for the distance of several hundred meters. It is extremely beautiful, and there is a very conspicuous building above the center of the land that attracts Xiaoyan. It was a mysterious object hanging in midair. The object was round and about the size of a wide open. The most peculiar thing is that above the circular object, there is a mysterious stone only the size of a palm. The stone slowly turned, exuding a very special brilliance, and the brilliance continued to spread around. That's when Xiao saw the mysterious stone for the first time, his pupils shrank tightly, and his heartbeat even became intense. The mysterious stone in front of me, if I expected it well, it should be the meteorite. That Senior Yuxian said. Xiaoyan also murmured. Xiaoyan remembers me clearly. This mysterious meteorite created the strength of their Tianwu clan and the power of the current Suanling royal family. However, Xiaoyan did not enter any place rashly, because Xiaoyan also felt in the dark, a faint terrifying wave on the mysterious stone also slowly radiated, and seemed to surround a distance of 10 meters. If you enter rashly, I am afraid that you will not be able to eat and walk away. However, Xiaoyan at this time was just 10 meters away. This thing, even me, can't see any flaws. At the moment when the colorless transparent wall was broken, the Golden Dragon King suddenly stepped back a few steps and came to Xiaoyan's side, and then the Golden Dragon King radiated gold. The Long Tong also slowly glanced away at the space in front of him. Remember that Senior Yuxian said that even he doesn't know the origin of this mysterious meteorite, but the only thing that is certain is that this mysterious meteorite has a long history. Xiaoyan also said, this mysterious stone seems to contain some mysterious impurities. If these things are used for tempering, they are also very useful. Xiaoyan also discovered after some exploration that Yuxian is right. This mysterious meteorite does contain some extremely mysterious power, and the formation of the Xuanling Emperor Pond is probably also related to this meteorite. The Golden Dragon King also said. But having said that, the fluctuations in the outside world are undoubtedly weakened and diluted too much. Xiaoyan also saw the mysterious meteorite among the 5 round objects at a glance, and then said, Shabu Shabu. At the next moment, Xiaoyan was just about to say something, but the flame ring in his hand suddenly shone brightly, and then a fiery red sword appeared in an instant, and then stayed by Xiaoyan's side, slowly staring at the mysterious meteorite. An extremely greedy fluctuation also emanated from the fairy sword. This fiery red sword was obtained in the mysterious secret realm in the corpse forest before. Although it is an immortal sword, it is damaged after all, so the immortal sword has never been used. First, Xiaoyan used a ruler. I got used to it, and it was because of this immortal sword wealth that Xiaoyan still understood. Xiaoyan also felt that there seemed to be something missing from the immortal sword, and he also never took it out after the infernal corpse forest. I didn't expect this immortal sword to appear at this time. Xiaoyan also murmured. Obviously, when entering this forbidden area before, there was an extremely violent fluctuation in the ring, and now I think it should be this immortal sword. This is an immortal sword, even if it is incomplete, its value is huge. This is a strategic thing that can decide the outcome of a battle. Just imagine, among the powerhouses of the same level, the strength of their own do skills and weapons is compared to that of their own. If they possess an immortal sword at the same level, then I am afraid that colorless is invincible. This immortal sword has such violent fluctuations. Xiaoyan also slowly looked away from the mysterious meteorite, and then slowly stared at the immortal sword in front of him. Although Xiaoyan doesn't know the real power of the fairy sword, the fact that this fairy sword has dispatched 3 strong immortal warriors can see the horror of this fairy sword. But although it is only a semi-finished product, but even Long Yi is quite afraid. Long Yi, what is the origin of this immortal sword? Xiaoyan also gently touched the ancient ruler of eternal fire in his hand, and then asked, do not ask me. When this immortal sword was forged back then, it was indeed shocking, but it hasn't been tempered yet. Or maybe it's not consecrated yet. Long Yi said in a displeased manner. But it's no wonder that when Long Yi was besieged by this immortal sword for thousands of years, if this immortal sword was so simple, it wouldn't be enough to let the 3 big Docian go with him. But looking at the appearance, this immortal sword is obviously thinking about the mysterious meteorite. Maybe he wanted to use that mysterious meteorite to complete its final step. Long Yi said slowly the next moment. It is said that real immortal swords are wise. Why did I not feel any breath and power in this immortal sword? Xiaoyan also spoke slowly. Buzz, immortal sword also kept making some extremely faint sounds, and then slowly passed into Xiaoyan's mind. It actually wants to devour this mysterious meteorite. The next moment, Xiaoyan's pupils also suddenly opened, and he stared at the immortal sword in front of him, which was surrounded by fiery red aura. Chapter 360. The Emperor Flame Ring and the Immortal Sword with Wisdom. After a short period of surprise, Xiaoyan also recovered his calmness, and then slowly stared at this immortal sword. The immortal sword at this time was glowing with fiery red light, and a mysterious dragon-shaped sword shadow slowly emerged on the body of the immortal sword, like a lifelike dragon shadow. From the entrance of the stone tablet in the forbidden area, the immortal sword slowly exudes extremely hot fluctuations, and when it comes to the core area of the forbidden area, the fluctuations are getting stronger and stronger. Instead, Xiaoyan always felt that there seemed to be something on this isolated island that had a fatal attraction to this immortal sword. A sword, scabbard, and body can be called a real sword. It's just that this immortal sword, Xiaoyan didn't have any traces of the scabbard in that secret realm, and he immediately became a little thoughtful. Buzz. The fluctuations on the immortal sword became more and more intense, and then the next moment, Xiaoyan no longer hesitated, holding the immortal sword with one hand. Otherwise Xiaoyan was also worried that the immortal sword would break through and fly into the mysterious meteorite's radius of 10 within meters. Even his master, the Golden Dragon King, would have a hard time noticing what was weird here, but the only thing that was certain was that the place where this mysterious meteorite existed would definitely not be simple, so he didn't dare to make the slightest move. This fluctuation. This is not the first time Xiaoyan has held this immortal sword. He remembers that the first time he conquered this immortal sword, it was in the mysterious secret realm of the Yin Corpse forest, and Xiaoyan didn't find it at that time either. What is the strange fluctuation of this immortal sword? When I held this immortal sword for the first time, I just felt that the sword was incomplete, so Xiaoyan also put it away. The attention is naturally much less. But now there are some strange fluctuations in this sword. Xiaoyan had just held the immortal sword, and the next moment, his voice was also abruptly turned red by the sword. Shabu shabu. The terrifying temperature also emerged from the sword in an instant. Then slowly talking about the hilt, it rushed into Xiaoyan's body frantically. It seems that the immortal sword didn't turn on its wisdom after it was first obtained by you in that secret realm. When you lent the 9-soul monument to fight with the twin ghost emperors, the spiritual wisdom of this immortal sword should have been opened by him. The Golden Dragon King also seemed to see Xiaoyan's doubts, and then said, "Immortal sword. Sure enough, he already possesses spiritual wisdom." Xiaoyan was also overjoyed when he heard this. Boom boom boom. An extremely hot temperature emerged from the sword at first, and the next moment it instantly filled Xiaoyan's body. Although this terrifying temperature was extremely hot, it was naturally not a problem for someone like Xiaoyan who had already swallowed and merged 23 kinds of flames. However, after that, for some unknown reason, after Xiaoyan had endured the temperature of the immortal sword also became silent. A few breaths passed, and an extremely large suction force emerged from the immortal sword, and the target of the suction was the douqi in Xiaoyan's body. Damn it! Xiaoyan also discovered the purpose of this immortal sword at the first time, and then suddenly broke free. However, what Xiaoyan didn't expect was that since he held the fairy sword, the two seemed to be bound together forcibly. No matter how Xiaoyan struggled, this immortal sword was firmly attached to his hand like a mountain. Don't panic, let it absorb. Just when Xiaoyan was in a hurry and was about to use the huge soul power in his body to cut off the connection between himself and this fairy sword, his master Dragon King seemed to have found something and said with a smile, "Yes, just let it suck and see how much it can absorb." The next moment, the ancient ruler of eternal fire also slowly lit up, and Long Yi also appeared. What's going on? Xiaoyan also stopped the movements in his hands under the words of the two, and let the sword absorb the douqi in his body. However, Xiaoyan could feel that the douqi in his body was slowly flowing into this immortal sword. This immortal sword seemed to be a bottomless pit, absorbing the power from the fusion of 23 different fires in Xiaoyan's body without any worries. This should be the core area. In order to prevent any changes, you take out that conch. The Golden Dragon King also said. Yes. Xiaoyan heard the words and slowly took out the conch named Hai's voice. Although Xiaoyan only knew that the conch was also an immortal weapon, but thinking about it, he also needed the special means of his Tianhui clan to use it, so he didn't put his mind on it. Shabu shabu. The immortal sword in Xiaoyan's hand absorbed nearly 50% of Xiaoyan's vindictive energy, and it stopped absorbing it. Then, as if he was full, he was still unfinished, and 23 different rays of light appeared throughout his body. Since you're full, let's work. A voice full of jokes also slowly appeared in this space. Work. Xiaoyan was also at a loss. Obviously, the source of the voice was the Golden Dragon King standing in front of him. The voice of the Golden Dragon King had just fallen, and the immortal sword in Xiaoyan's hand seemed to have the intelligence to understand human voices. Do you still want to run when you're full? Although Xiaoyan didn't know why his master, the Golden Dragon King, did this for the time being. He definitely had his reasons for doing this, and he immediately stopped him. This flame ring was left by Emperor Tuoshi. Xiaoyan accepted the inheritance of ancient Emperor Tuoshi, thus breaking through Dode. This ancient Emperor Tuoshi also said that he was Xiaoyan's teacher. This Golden Dragon King is the brother of Emperor Tuoshi, and in terms of seniority, he is naturally his own master. So Xiaoyan also has absolute control over this flame ring. However, Xiaoyan also knows that this flame ring is definitely not simple, because Xiaoyan's current soul power at the peak of the Emperor Realm's mortal level and the mid-level strength of the 4-star Dode, I am afraid that this flame ring is only a corner of his knowledge. According to Xiaoyan's guess, this flame ring will gradually surface as his strength increases, and many mysteries will gradually surface. After all, most of the rings can only store some medicinal herbs and daily necessities. After all, those things are dead. As for weapons, there are very few rings that can hold them. Not to mention that it is a weapon of the immortal level like Xiaoyan. So Xiaoyan also concluded that this flame ring is not simple, but it is not a venue for discussing the flame ring. Cut off the immortal sword's idea of escaping into the Emperor's flame ring. Immortal sword also seemed to sense Xiaoyan's movements, and immediately flew to the ground, like a deflated balloon. You still have this immortal sword. Xiaoyan was also quite helpless about this. The immortal sword in front of him was like a little baby, quite willful. Haha, it seems that you are very interested in the stone inside. If you help us get through here, then the stone will be given to you. The Golden Dragon King also said slowly. Really? A coquettish anger slowly emanated from the immortal sword. Chapter 361, Sudden Change. Naturally counts. Dragon King was not surprised when he heard the anger that came from the immortal sword, but said slowly, but his pupils were turning quickly, obviously thinking about something. That's right. The voice of anger on the immortal sword also resounded, and the next moment, the sword slowly rose from the ground, and then slowly gathered in Xiaoyan's hands. The immortal sword had just returned to Xiaoyan's hands, and the ancient ruler of the eternal fire on Xiaoyan's body also fell off. Then Xiaoyan found that the immortal sword was held by himself, and there seemed to be some scorching heat in the palm of his hand, but for Xiaoyan it was nothing, so Xiaoyan didn't care. How is this going? Could this be the sword spirit of the immortal sword? Xiaoyan also asked in confusion. If I am really a sword spirit, then fine. The voice in the fairy sword also said slowly. Sword spirit, not like it. I feel more like a residual force. After all, when the 3 immortal warriors were refining this immortal sword, if they already possessed the sword spirit, how could they look at me and arrest me at a great price? Long Yi also said slowly. Hehe, you flaming dragon didn't die, it seems that all this is God's will. The words above the fairy sword also slowly spread. Humph, you're just the residual power that the 3 Docian fused together. Long Yi also said slowly, not to be outdone. But what you said is not wrong. I am just a residual force. The purpose of my existence is to let this fairy sword find the right person, so as to bring out its brilliance. The voice above the fairy sword is also saving the road. Haha, this sword is now in our hands, and the master is naturally Xiaoyan. Long Yi also said. Just him. The voice in the immortal sword was also full of doubts. What? No. Long Yi also said. Although the flame power on this kid is quite in line with this sword, it doesn't mean that he can become the master of this sword. The master of the immortal sword can't be him. The voice in the sword also said without mercy. Xiaoyan also had black lines all over his head at this time. He didn't know what Long Yi and the voice in the immortal sword were doing. Okay, let's talk about the rest later. Let's do business first. At first, the Golden Dragon King ignored the real quarrel between Long Yi and Immortal Sword, but the quarrel between the two became more and more fierce, and they had no choice but to exit. Don't forget what you promised me. That stone. The voice in the Immortal Sword also said slowly. This is no problem. The Golden Dragon King also said slowly, although the mysterious meteorite is unclear, but it is extremely precious, but the Golden Dragon King found that the most precious thing in the core area of the forbidden area is not this, it seems it is those water droplets on the mysterious meteorite that are more precious. Because even the Golden Dragon King felt some extremely familiar aura from the water droplets. Gather the power in your body. An extremely gentle voice also sounded slowly in Xiaoyan's heart. Although Xiaoyan didn't know what the remaining power in this sword was for, he wanted to come here to crack the special space in front of him. Boom boom boom. The next moment, Xiaoyan also slowly gathered the fighting qi in his body onto the sword in his hand. At this time, an extremely huge flame force emerged from the immortal sword, and then slowly surrounded the body of the sword. The huge power above the immortal sword also slowly surrounded, and the next moment, the tip of the sword suddenly pointed to the location of the mysterious meteorite. Within 10 meters of this mysterious meteorite, there is a very special space. If there is no special method, it is impossible to enter. Above the sword also spoke slowly. Xiaoyan heard the words and looked at the core area. At this moment, the mysterious meteorite was also slowly exuding a dim brilliance, and then the next moment, a slight inconspicuous liquid slowly dripped from the mysterious meteorite. Go! The trace of inconspicuous liquid dripping down from the mysterious meteorite slowly fell into the circular object suspended under the mysterious meteorite in the next moment. Shabu shabu. The next moment, when the mysterious liquid in the mysterious meteorite dripped down, an extremely majestic force and dazzling fluctuations slowly radiated out. This is the power of life. The Golden Dragon King just saw the dazzling light emerging from the round object, and his pupils were also beating violently. The power of life. The Golden Dragon King just saw the dazzling light emerging from the round object, and his pupils were also beating violently. At this moment, the Golden Dragon King also understood. Why are there a few strong auras of life among the round objects? Because the breath of life is condensed from the mysterious meteorite. No wonder the immortal sword is so anxious to get this meteorite. It turns out that this meteorite has a lot of background. What is that? Xiaoyan also stared blankly at the dazzling light in front of him, and then the huge perception spread instantly. The next moment, Xiaoyan was also surprised to find out. A force that seemed to contain enormous vitality also slowly emerged from the circular object under the mysterious meteorite. After passing through this power, Xiaoyan also discovered that the 50% douqi in his body that had been absorbed by the immortal sword also recovered quickly, and even the tired injuries in his body had recovered very obviously. An indescribable feeling of comfort also arises spontaneously. What exactly is this? Xiaoyan also felt this strong life force for a short time, slowly stared at the mysterious meteorite in front of him. Xiaoyan knew that all this was brought about by this mysterious meteorite, so he frowned. Damn it, you still discovered it. Above the fairy sword surrounded by as many as 23 colors also blurted out slowly. Humph. The Golden Dragon King also seemed to realize that he had just read it wrong. Originally, in the core area of the Forbidden Area, this mysterious meteorite was the most precious thing. Long Yi, do it. The next moment, the Golden Dragon King also found something, and snorted at Long Yi. At this time, Long Yi had already escaped from the ancient ruler of eternal fire. After all, with Xiaoyan by his side, it was still possible to leave the ancient ruler of eternal fire for a short time. Facing the voice of the Golden Dragon King, Long Yi also understood. Damn it! What are you doing? Xiaoyan also found that he just wanted to break free from this immortal sword, but found that his palm couldn't break free no matter what. It was as if he was being heavily controlled by this immortal sword. No matter what, it is impossible to break free from the control of such an immortal sword. Humph, little guy, lend me your body first. A strange voice sounded beside Xiaoyan's ears from the immortal sword. The next moment, above the immortal sword, a splendid light also spread along the hilt of the sword and slowly spread to Xiaoyan, heading towards Xiaoyan's brain control center. With such an appearance, he is clearly trying to control Xiaoyan. Chapter 362, Backlash? Damn residual power. Xiaoyan couldn't help but scolded, and the next moment, he also suddenly realized that his body could not move at all under the control of the immortal sword. This frightened Xiaoyan, so Xiaoyan also hurriedly activated the flame mantra in his body, trying to resist the invasion of the remaining power of the immortal sword. If he was controlled by the residual power of this sword, the consequences would be unimaginable. Give up resistance. How can I say that I am also the residual power left by the 3 Docian powerhouses? Don't say it's because of your mediocre 4-star Dode mid-level strength. Even if you add the two old guys outside, you won't be able to defeat me in a short period of time, a voice in the immortal sword. Also slowly echoed Xiaoyan. Sounded in his mind. Get out. Xiaoyan also shouted in his heart, and then the next moment, as the force of that sword continued to penetrate into Xiaoyan's brain control center, Xiaoyan also felt that he was gradually losing control of this body. It can't go on like this. Xiaoyan also broke off immediately. The next moment, in the soul realm, the huge soul power also poured into his brain control center frantically, trying to resist the invasion of the remaining power of the immortal sword. This sword actually wants to control Xiaoyan. The Golden Dragon King also snorted coldly. Do it. The next moment, the Golden Dragon King also said a few words slowly to Xiaoyan next to him, and then said to Long Yi, "So that's it." Xiaoyan was also shocked by the strength of the immortal sword at the beginning, but now he is also trying to prevent the immortal sword from controlling himself, thus making a big fight. Following the words of his master, the Golden Dragon King, Xiaoyan's eyes sank slightly. Is it really okay to do this? However, Xiaoyan did not hesitate. Out of his trust in his master, the Golden Dragon King, he secretly made up his mind. The next moment, the power in the body also slowly fell like a discouragement. The power of the immortal sword that invaded Xiaoyan's body was also a big joy, and then regardless of the resistance, it went straight to the control center of Xiaoyan's brain. If I was able to control the body of this human kid, and then the people here will be. At this time, Xiaoyan's body was exuding a mysterious green light, and upon closer inspection, this green light was clearly emanating from the immortal sword. The green power slowly formed a protective shield around Xiaoyan's body, surrounding Xiaoyan. The Golden Dragon King waved his palm viciously towards Xiaoyan, and the next moment, the bright golden light also poured into the green power on Xiaoyan's body. However, the strange thing is that the Golden Dragon King's seemingly invincible golden doqi was suddenly swallowed up when it passed through the green doqi around Xiaoyan's body. Disappeared without a trace. The next moment, Long Yi also opened his mouth, and then spit out a long breath at Xiaoyan. The scorching wave and the destructive power were mixed together to attack Xiaoyan. The next moment, it was exactly the same. The green power that had just touched Xiaoyan's body was completely swallowed up. What kind of power is this? It can actually swallow my doqi. At this time, the Golden Dragon King also ignored the mysterious round objects and mysterious meteorites in front of him, but prepared to deal with the residual power on the immortal sword first. The Golden Dragon King is the leader of the Dragon Clan, and the Golden Dragon King in his peak period is known as the strongest person who is closest to the level of the Dragon God. Dragon God, that is a real Doxian level powerhouse, but it is obviously not nonsense that the Golden Dragon King can get such a title. Now, the green energy above this fairy sword can actually swallow the power of the Golden Dragon King, which makes the Golden Dragon King think. Wait a minute. Just when Long Yi was about to launch an attack, the Golden Dragon King raised his hand to signal Long Yi, Senior. Facing the words of the Golden Dragon King, Long Yi dared to have any doubts. After all, no matter from the future or now, Long Yi has great respect for the Golden Dragon King who was once the most powerful of the Dragon Clan. But take a step back and say that the power of blood in the Golden Dragon King's body is also extremely terrifying to suppress Long Yi. If the Golden Dragon King hadn't deliberately suppressed the fluctuation, then the terrifying coercion from the superiors could also make Long Yi's worship up. What do you think that is? The Golden Dragon King also slowly pointed at Xiaoyan's neck. That's. After Long Yi finished speaking, he also stared at Xiaoyan's neck. At this time, Xiaoyan was standing on the ground without any master, and the immortal sword was also tightly held in his hand, and a green grudge surrounded him slowly. But the next moment, there was a blue light on Xiaoyan's neck, slowly emitting from the conch-like thing on his neck. Then it slowly gathered in Xiaoyan's forehead. Looks like we're overthinking it. Then Yu Xian should have done some tricks in the sound of the sea in the end. When Xiaoyan encounters insurmountable trouble, he will also take action. The Golden Dragon King naturally felt the blue light slowly emitting from the conch shell. The light of color is like the sea, as deep as the abyss and unfathomable. Wait quietly, I always feel that something is staring at us, be careful. After the Golden Dragon King finished speaking, he also glanced around, but he didn't find it, so he had to do it. and then looked at Xiaoyan. The reason why they didn't dare to enter the 10-meter space of the mysterious meteorite is that the Golden Dragon King, with the experience of the old man, knew that the place where such treasures were kept would definitely not be so simple, so it was just left in the fairy sword, the scene of the power agreement. But until now, the fact that the power of life can be condensed in the mysterious meteorite was also discovered by the Golden Dragon King, so this agreement is naturally self-defeating. However, the Golden Dragon King is also quite curious as to why this fairy sword is so obsessed with the mysterious meteorite, even if it is obtained at all costs. Judging from the reaction just now of the power remaining in the fairy sword, it clearly knew some mysterious functions of the mysterious meteorite, and it could not be said that it knew something that the Golden Dragon King did not know. In the loneliness of the forbidden area at this time, there was a dead silence, as if the sound of breathing had become solemn. Since Xiaoyan heard the words of his master Jin Longwang, he simply gave up his resistance, because what his master Dragon King said to himself was that it would be better to let the remaining power in this fairy sword go wild and wipe it out. These words just appeared in Xiaoyan's mind. Xiaoyan was also surprised, but after a short thought, he also agreed with the approach of his master, the Golden Dragon King. After all, no matter what, Xiaoyan still has huge soul power and spiritual power in his body, and at Xiaoyan's level of soul power, even if his body is destroyed, there is still a chance of survival, so he simply fights. Why is it trying to control my body? Xiaoyan also found that after the green power entered his body, he didn't stop there, and went straight to the control center in the deepest part of his body, trying to gain control of your own body. However, Xiaoyan also discovered that the immortal sword in his hand seemed to emit a slight scream, and the tip of the sword pointed to the mysterious meteorite hanging high 10 meters away in front of him. Chapter 363, A Woman Fused with Energy Bodies. Boom boom boom. When the green energy in the immortal sword poured into Xiaoyan's brain control center, the magical conch shell that Xiaoyan had taken out from the sea suddenly emitted an extremely dazzling blue light, and then gathered directly towards Xiaoyan's forehead. Ha ha ha, I succeeded. The green power also slowly let out a very happy voice, because it has come to the depths of Xiaoyan's brain, and the control center is close at hand. As long as the control of this control center is taken away, then in other words, it is another kind of rebirth. After all, no matter what, it is just an energy body. If you get this body, you will be reborn. The next moment, the green power didn't hesitate, and suddenly walked towards the mysterious light group in front of him. That mysterious light group is the control center deep in Xiaoyan's brain, Shabu. At this critical moment of survival, a blue light also emerged instantly, and then slowly surrounded the green power. Damn it, what is this? Green power also said viciously. Then it also discovered that since the blue light appeared, a fear that made it spontaneously spread out. Boom boom boom. The blue light just appeared in the control center that extended out of Xiaoyan's brain, and the next moment it suddenly exploded, and an invisible shock wave also slowly radiated from the depths of Xiaoyan's brain. Not good. The green power also realized something at the next moment, and then suddenly and quickly escaped from Xiaoyan's body, because in addition to the repelling of the blue light, a mysterious rune engraved with the word magic movement also appeared slowly. In the mysterious rune, an extremely greedy aura also pervaded the green power. Cough cough. In a few breaths, the green power also left the depths of Xiaoyan's brain and appeared in the outer space. At the same time, Xiaoyan was also shaken violently, regained control over his body, and then the immortal sword in his hand suddenly swung and fell directly to the ground. Xiaoyan looked at the mysterious conch on his chest and murmured, "Thanks." The conch seemed to be quite benevolent and wise, and when she heard the words, it slowly dimmed. At the same time, in the depths of Xiaoyan's brain, the core inscription of the divine movement of life also slowly returned to the soul realm. Cough, cough. In the green light, a very gentle female voice also appeared slowly. Haha, you actually want to invade my body? Xiaoyan also said viciously to the green light in front of him, and the next moment the milky white flames in his hands gathered together, ready to attack at any time. Actually, I'm also curious about whether you are a residual power or a trace of your soul. The Golden Dragon King saw that the green power made some noises, apparently injured by the mysterious conch in Xiaoyan's body, and also said, "Humph. In the green light, a coquettish anger also appeared immediately, and then Xiaoyan and the three suddenly saw that the green light slowly dissipated, and a human-like woman appeared alive. The woman has long hair and a long skirt to set off her figure perfectly, and her delicate face has some wind marks, which is obviously due to the passage of time. What is this? When Xiaoyan saw this woman for the first time, a strange feeling came to her. That feeling was as if the woman in front of him was not a human being, because Xiaoyan, relying on his enormous soul power and spiritual power, could not feel even a trace of human aura from the woman in front of him. It's showing its original shape now. The Golden Dragon King also smiled slowly. Haha, it turned out to be an energy body. However, your energy body has existed for too long, and it's really not simple to be able to transform with strength. Long Yi also saw the identity of this woman at a glance, and then said, energized form. When Xiaoyan heard the words, he also thought blankly. I heard from my master Golden Dragon King before that it is not ruled out that there are some mysterious powers. After experiencing possession, I never imagined that the power remaining in the fairy sword would actually have it. Haha, I have to thank you for this. The woman also glared at Long Yi, then said coquettishly, me. Long Yi was surprised when he heard the words. When the three Douxian powerhouses cast this immortal sword, it cost a lot of energy, but this immortal sword was not opened, and later learned of your existence through some news. The three of them just thought incorporating you into this fairy sword and sword spirit, so that in Kaifeng, the power of the fairy sword will also be more terrifying by leaps and bounds. As for me, the power that was injected into the fairy sword by the three people at the beginning was very small at first, but then slowly absorbed the power in that secret realm, and was also hidden in the fairy sword, so that I have now it's me. The woman didn't seem to be afraid of Xiaoyan and the others, but continued to say lightly, in that case, you should really thank me. But from now on, you won't exist anymore. Long Yi also said with a smile. The next moment, the breath suddenly burst out, and then attacked the woman. Kill it, I'm just an energy body. The woman also smiled slightly, and there was an extremely rare banter in her voice. Wait a minute, when he saw that Long Yi was about to attack the woman seemed to be okay, and the Golden Dragon King also stopped Long Yi. What else is there? Kill me. You can also completely control this immortal sword, why not? The woman also asked rhetorically. What's the relationship between you and that stone? The Golden Dragon King also kept turning over the woman and the meteor in his pupils, and then said, sure enough. Have you been discovered? The woman also laughed at herself. You really know. Xiaoyan heard the words and finally understood the calculus in this woman's heart. The reason why this woman dares to be so arrogant is that she knows some secrets of the mysterious meteorite, so she has no fear in the face of Long Yi's attack. Tell me, you know the secrets about this meteorite. The Golden Dragon King also stared at the woman with a smile, and a faint wave slowly spread out. Is this the most terrifying Golden Dragon King in the Dragon Clan? It really lives up to its reputation. But I also know that I am just an energy body at this time, and it is impossible for the three of you to be an opponent. But one thing is certain. If it wasn't for me, you would never have gotten that mysterious meteorite. I can't even leave here alive. The woman also smiled slightly, but the absolute confidence in her voice could not be concealed.
Hi. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon to get updated on my latest video. Thank you for watching.